Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today I want to talk about some tips about picking your park days for your trip, as in what parks are you going on, which days for your trip. This is one of the first decisions you should really be making before you even plan other things like fast passes and restaurants and all of that. And it can be a little overwhelming to know how to handle this. So these are just a couple of tips on how to do this that might help you when you're trying to decide where you're going on what day. The first thing that I like to do, and I recommend a lot of people do, is pick your parks for your arrival and departure days, if that's what you're doing. So first figure out, are you gonna actually go to the parks on the days that you fly in, drive in, what have you, or leave? I usually do because I'm limited to about 4 or 5 days and I wanna get the most out of my trip. Some people prefer to not go to parks at all on their travel days and just relax, or if they're flying in late, you might not be able to. But presuming that you're flying in early enough to go to a park or late enough flying out to go to a park before you leave, then you should consider where you might want to go. I like to think of this as, what are the parks that I don't mind getting half to 3/4 of a day in, especially if I know I have time to go to them again later on, but even if I don't. For example, this upcoming April trip that I have, my arrival day is going to be Epcot. Why? Because I want to spend more time checking out the Flower and Garden Festival than I do riding rides, and there's only so many rides anyway in Epcot. I got fast passes for the ones I really care about, and otherwise I just want to low-key enjoy Epcot and the festival. I feel like for me it is a good park to take my time at. Some people find Epcot tiring because there's a lot of walking, but I think I know that if I don't try to hit certain rides and I'm just trying to enjoy World Showcase, the festival, Illuminations, things like that, it's actually a really good arrival day park for me because I can kind of mosey around at my own pace, stop and sit, I have a dinner reserved and all of that, and I can take it at a slow pace, especially if I'm tired from the morning, which I will be because I have a very early flight in. That's a personal choice. I'm not saying Epcot has to be your arrival day choice, but thinking about where are you okay slowing down, and where do you feel like you don't need to be rushing around to as many rides. Maybe Hollywood Studios is another option for you as well, at least pre-Galaxy's Edge right now. And then leaving, I usually have a little more time because I know that I'm gonna plan to go for opening, first of all, to get the most of my time. And my flights out tend to be around 7:30. So I get home, around 10, or at least in the airport around 10, and that way I'm not home super late. So with that in mind, if I take Magical Express, I'm leaving at 4 p.m. from the hotel. If I take a cab, it might be more like 5 or 4:30. So I would probably have to leave a park around 3 o'clock, right, to be safe. So it would be a park that I'd want to go super early for, that I wouldn't mind missing a nighttime show if I have limited time, and that I feel like I can get a lot of my experience out of early. So think about those things first. I feel like tackling your first and last days are always the easiest way to start. My second tip would be to check the weather. So if there's a particularly rainy day, there are some parks that might be better suited for you. Magic Kingdom has a lot of indoor rides and a lot of indoor spaces. So if you want to get out of the rain, maybe you want the rainy day to be a Magic Kingdom day. On the flip side, if you have the gear you need to go walking out in a storm, you might want to pick a park where most people are going to avoid so that you can have less waits and enjoy the park more. Animal Kingdom might be one. It's very open and most people wouldn't go there, but I've done it in full rain gear and had a great time because everyone else is left. So think about what you want to do, whether it's I want to go to the park where I can huddle away from the rain, or I don't mind going to the park where everyone else is leaving, so I'll do that. But look at your weather forecast, and if it is rain or a storm or anything that might hinder a certain experience, you might want to go to one park over the other. For example, if it's raining or lightning, especially, Test Track always goes down. So if that's really important to you to ride that, you might want to save Epcot for a beautiful sunny day. My next tip is to check for extra magic hours or special ticketed events. Again, this can go either way with your planning, and it all depends on your interests. You might be someone who wants to take advantage of extra magic hours, so you want to plan around that. And you might be someone who wants to pay for those after hours tickets, which is, basically a paid ticket where you get like 3 hours in a park to basically ride rides over and over again. Usually comes with perks of some free food involved, like snacks, popcorns, and things. So some people want that. So you might want to look at the schedule and say, well, yeah, there's like a after hours, at this park, so I definitely want to include that in my day. But some people want to do the reverse, right? Maybe you don't want to spend $100 on an after hours ticket, but you don't want to go to Hollywood Studios the day that they're doing that because they're gonna kick everybody out at like 6 or 7 p.m. So you're losing that full day. So you might want to plan to avoid those parks so you can get more hours in another park, right? So think about what is important to you. Some people avoid extra magic hours because they claim that crowds are worse because now there's already 2 hours or an hour of people getting ahead and they're already in the park. So by the time everyone else comes in, it's like twice as crowded. So looking at those things can help you decide which park you want to do on which day based on what you want to take advantage of or what you want to avoid. The next one is to choose based on the ease of park hopping. This is presuming you have a park hopping pass, and you might want to consider which parks based on how easily you can get from one to the other. So very common to do Magic Kingdom and Epcot in the same day because you can hop on the monorail, or Epcot and Hollywood Studios because you can take a boat or you can walk between the two, right? So you want to think about distance from one part to the other that you're hopping to kind of be more efficient with your time. Same even with Animal Kingdom. One of the closer parks to it, like the shortest drive, would be Hollywood Studios if you're considering driving yourself or taking the bus. So you want to think about that when you're park hopping. Just what's going to be the easiest way to get from point A to point B so that it isn't like a nightmare of trying to get from one to another and it's going to take you half an hour. Another thing that I particularly like to do is choose based on nighttime shows and fireworks. So again, this next trip, I have 4 park days. I have 4 days, period. So it was really important to me to catch Illuminations, especially because that's disappearing soon, to catch Happily Ever After because it's amazing, and I'm going for Hollywood Studios 30th anniversary, so they're gonna have a whole new nighttime show, so I want to see that. Animal Kingdom has Rivers of Light, which I don't really find that interesting, honestly, and then they have the projections on the tree, which, okay, cool. But for me, being there at night is more about the general atmosphere, but not necessarily like the shows. And while I will miss that, like I'm gonna miss seeing Pandora at night, for me, I'm prioritizing the fireworks shows and the nighttime shows at the other 3 parks. So that might be something you want to think about too, especially when you don't have a lot of days. This might not be applicable if you're staying for a whole week, but if you're on a short trip, prioritize like what shows at night do you really want to see. That'll help you decide what parks you want to go to on what day based on that schedule. My one caveat beyond all of these tips is to be flexible. Don't feel like just because, Monday's Epcot day, it has to be Epcot day. In fact, you might want to change this around if, it turns out when you're doing fast passes, you could get a Flight of Passage fast pass on Monday, or maybe it has to do with restaurant reservation availability. I think have the general idea and try to plan to that, but always be flexible to move things around as you're starting to book fast passes and restaurants and other experiences, because it's important just to have flexibility. I find with Disney World plans, they never go exactly how you expect. Anyway, those are some of my tips for choosing park days for certain days. Those are some of the things I'm thinking about when I'm choosing my park days. I would love to know in the comments below, how do you choose yours? Is there a specific thing that you are looking to do? Is there specific parts that you like to do for your arrival or departure days? Do you care less about what you're doing each day and just kind of wing it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, don't like it. If you like me, you should subscribe. I make videos every single week. There's gonna just be more and more planning, and my upcoming trip will be vlogged as well, so you wanna stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great rest of the day. Bye.